A dog barrels into the room at full speed, claws on wood, collar rattling, tail whipping like something out of control. On the couch, a cat lifts its head. 1 second of stillness. Then the ears go back, the pupils widen, the spine arches. For most animals, this is where it ends. A fast-moving carnivore has entered the space. It is bigger, louder, sloppier. It stares too long, comes too close, ignores every warning, and somehow, in millions of homes, this does not end in blood. The dog skids to a stop. The cat gives it one hard look, and instead of fighting, they share the couch, sometimes the bed, sometimes the same square of sunlight. Which is strange enough, it gets stranger when you realize none of this was supposed to happen. Cats and dogs were built to misunderstand each other, so how did they learn to get along? If you grew up with both, it can feel normal. The dog trails behind the cat like an overeager assistant. The cat acts insulted, then quietly naps 6 feet away from it every afternoon. They develop routines, boundaries, tiny treaties. But strip away the cute videos for a second, and the arrangement is deeply weird. Dogs come from social hunters shaped by group life. Cats come from small ambush predators shaped by stealth, control, and quick retreats. One species tends to close distance fast. The other tends to value distance in the first place. Even their signals can collide. A wagging tail is not a universal sentence, and neither is a flicking one. Posture, speed, tension, and direction all matter. A dog's loose, bouncy approach may be meant as social enthusiasm, but to a cat, that same approach can read as pressure. A cat holding still may be assessing or deciding what to do next, while a dog may treat that pause as permission to come closer. So the first mystery is not why cats and dogs fight. The mystery is why they ever stop. Part of the answer starts with a misconception. People often imagine pets as little wild predators that just happen to live indoors, a wolf in a softer coat, a wild cat on a windowsill. That is not what they are. Domestication mattered, but not because humans somehow trained cats and dogs over thousands of years to adore each other. It mattered because domestication made both species better at living inside human-controlled environments, less reactive, more flexible, more able to function around noise, confinement, routine, and proximity. Not universally friendly, just more capable of surviving a world full of unnatural encounters. Dogs and cats reached that world by different routes. Dogs were domesticated first, at least 15,000 years ago. Probably earlier, some wolves began lingering near human camps. The least fearful and most behaviorally flexible individuals did better there, and over generations they became animals unusually good at living around humans. Cats came later by a different path. Around 10,000 years ago, humans started storing grain. Grain attracted rodents. Rodents attracted wildcats. The cats that could tolerate human settlements gained easy hunting and a stable niche. That difference matters. Dogs were shaped more strongly for social coordination. Cats kept more of their independence. But neither species was being prepared specifically for the other. Maybe humans did not teach cats and dogs to like each other directly. Maybe both species were first shaped to survive the strangest animal either of them would ever meet. Us. Think about what living with humans actually demands. We are loud and unpredictable. We move furniture, stare into their faces, pick them up, bring strangers into the house, and disappear for hours before returning smelling like unfamiliar animals. We decide when doors open, when food appears, when they are touched, and when their rest gets interrupted. Any animal that succeeds in a human home is already doing something difficult, learning to live inside controlled unpredictability. Humans did not usually sit cats and dogs down and teach them an interspecies peace treaty. Humans built the setting where one could happen. A house does something nature usually does not. It allows repeated contact without constant life or death stakes. The animals are fed and sheltered without having to compete over food or survive the risks of winter. They can separate when things get tense, regroup once they've calmed down, and simply meet again tomorrow. And that changes everything, because the real mechanism is much simpler than mutual understanding. It is learning through repeated exposure. First comes unfamiliarity, then caution, then the first close encounter, which may go badly, or almost badly. The dog rushes, the cat swats, the dog startles, the cat runs. Nobody dies. So the next encounter begins with both animals carrying slightly more information about the other than they had before. That is how the bridge gets built, piece by piece. If a puppy grows up around cats early, cat behavior gets filed under normal sooner. The sudden sprint, the stare, the swat that means back off. Those stop feeling like random shocks. If a kitten grows up around dogs, heavy footsteps and blunt social energy are less likely to register as immediate catastrophe. Still unpleasant sometimes, still worth avoiding sometimes, but not necessarily a crisis. This is one reason early socialization matters so much. Young animals are still learning what kinds of other creatures belong in the world without danger. Miss that window, and the process gets harder, not impossible, just slower and more dependent on careful management. And careful management matters because learning only works if the encounters stay below the level of panic. Which brings us to one of the biggest factors of all, control. Most cat-dog disasters are not proof that these animals were destined to hate each other. They are setup failures. A cat with no high place to escape to is more likely to panic. A dog with too much energy and no interruption is more likely to chase. A forced face-to-face meeting creates pressure, and so does cornering, feeding too close together, or letting one animal relentlessly pursue the other. Humans matter here, but not as diplomats giving lectures. We act more like managers of space, baby gates, closed doors, leashes, separate feeding areas, high shelves, rooms the cat can retreat to. Short sessions, calm interruptions before excitement turns into chasing. Enough distance for both animals to observe each other without feeling trapped. All of that does one thing. It gives them time to learn, because they do not need to understand each other perfectly. They only need to become predictable to each other. That is a much smaller achievement, and a much more realistic one. A dog does not need to grasp the full emotional meaning of every feline posture. It only needs to learn that when the cat's body gets tight and the ears angle back, moving closer leads to a bad outcome. A cat does not need to decode canine sociability in the abstract. It only needs to learn that this particular dog barges in, sniffs loudly, circles twice, and then lies down. Predictability changes the emotional math. An unpredictable animal is dangerous even if it means no harm. A predictable animal can be tolerated even if it is annoying. That is why so many cat-dog relationships begin like a border negotiation, distance and observation, then one animal approaches too fast and gets corrected, then a pause, then another attempt from a better angle. Over time, the retreat happens sooner, the approach gets calmer, and they can spend longer in the same room, without anything going wrong. What they are doing in those moments is not magical. They are collecting patterns. This movement means approach. That one means stop. This room is safe. That hallway feels risky. The dog learns that the cat calms down after a couple of minutes. The cat learns that the dog may swat provoke when cornered, but can be safely ignored when it passes slowly. Mammals are good at this. They update, they remember, they adjust behavior when consequences are clear and consistent enough. And the mistakes are often how they learn fastest. A dog play bows, front legs low, rear up, body loose. To another dog, that can be an invitation. To a cat, depending on context, it may just look like a prelude to chaos. A cat rolls partly onto its side near a dog. A human may see softness. The dog may see access. The cat may just be staying relaxed while keeping all four weapons available. The dog leans in too fast and gets smacked across the nose. Lesson delivered. That lesson matters because coexistence does not require shared language. It requires reliable consequences. If chasing consistently makes the other animal flee and brings human intervention, while calm behavior lets the dog stay in the room, the pattern gradually shifts. The cat learns it can leave without being followed, and its vigilance starts to drop. While the dog learns the cat is neither prey, nor a toy, nor a source of constant excitement, and its arousal falls too. Then something changes. Stress falls. Observation lasts longer. The room stops feeling like an arena, and once fear drops low enough, routine takes over. They begin appearing in the same places at the same times. The cat on the windowsill, the dog on the rug. Then the rug gets closer to the windowsill. Then they pass each other in the hallway without incident. Then they settle into fixed zones on the bed like neighboring states with a very efficient border. People often imagine some dramatic emotional breakthrough at this point, but usually the real milestone is smaller. Nothing happens, and then nothing happens again. No chase, no swat, no explosion, just another ordinary day in shared space. That kind of repetition is powerful. Familiarity grows out of uneventful contact, and familiarity can do what force cannot. Some pairs stop there. They become neutral roommates. No cuddling, no play, no obvious bond, just stable coexistence. And that alone is remarkable. But sometimes the relationship keeps moving. They choose to rest near each other. They sleep in contact or within easy reach. One grooms the other. One waits outside the door when the other is behind it. They engage in back and forth play with pauses, restraint, and reapproach. These are not human fantasies projected onto random behavior. They are observable affiliative patterns. Still, it helps to stay precise. This does not mean cats and dogs have solved interspecies communication. It means the communication became good enough to lower fear, good enough to permit proximity, good enough, sometimes, for play. Play is one of the clearest signs the gap has truly narrowed, because play is risky. You have to approach without triggering defense. You have to exaggerate movement without crossing into attack. You have to pause. You have to inhibit. You have to keep the whole thing from tipping into something real. That is difficult even within a species. Across species, it is extraordinary. A dog learns to soften its body, to break off, to circle instead of slamming forward. A cat learns that not every pounce is an emergency, and not every chase will continue if it disengages. Between them, they assemble a rough working system out of fence, pauses, swats, retreat, and limits that get clearer over time. It is not elegant, it is not perfect, it is full of mistranslations, and still, it can work, for the same reason so much social life works. Perfect understanding is rare. Predictability is enough. Humans helped create the conditions for this. We built homes where repeated encounters could happen in relative safety. We controlled food and territory. We interrupted disasters before they became defining events. We gave the animals escape routes, distance, and another chance tomorrow. But humans did not script the final step. That belonged to the animals. Trial and error, inhibition, memory, adjustment, the ability to take a creature once filed under possible threat and, after enough manageable encounters, move it into a different category. That is the real answer. Cats and dogs do not usually arrive at some deep interspecies understanding. They learn something smaller and more useful: how to share space, how to read enough of each other to avoid trouble, and how, given enough ordinary days, tolerance can slowly turn into something like affection. For thousands of years, both species have been living inside the strangest habitat on Earth, the human home, a place with doors that close, meals that arrive on schedule, soft furniture, artificial warmth, and a primate who insists that everyone under the roof belongs to the same social world. Under those conditions, enemies can become neighbors, neighbors can become companions, and sometimes, against every instinct that came before, the dog skids into the room, the cat lifts its head, and both of them stay on the couch.